She asked you what you were doing this weekend. You told her. She nodded, smiled, moved on to another topic, and you thought that was the end of it. It wasn't a question. It was a test, and you failed it without even knowing you were being graded. Right now, somewhere in your life, there's a woman who has already asked you one of 8 specific questions that sound like small talk. Questions that feel like nothing, and every single time you answered them like a man giving directions to a stranger instead of a man being handed an open door. She is never going to say, "I like you." Not first, not directly. Her interest is going to arrive disguised as curiosity, wrapped in a sentence so casual you'll forget it by dinner. So here's the question that should be keeping you up tonight. How many times has this already happened to you, and you walked right past it? This is for the man who's done being nice and getting nowhere. The man who's watched other guys who aren't smarter, aren't richer, aren't even better looking, end up with the woman he wanted simply because they noticed something he didn't. If that's you, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not bad at this because you lack charm. You are bad at this because nobody ever taught you the language women actually speak in. You were taught to wait for a green light that flashes in neon. Real interest doesn't work that way. Real interest is quiet. It hides inside ordinary conversation because a woman's ego, her pride, and let's be honest, millions of years of social risk avoidance all push her toward one rule: never be the one who's obvious. Think about the last time a woman asked you something that felt slightly off topic. Maybe she asked what you were doing later. Maybe she asked if you were single, phrased like she was just curious, like it barely mattered. Maybe she asked your opinion on something deeply personal, something a stranger has no real reason to ask. In the moment, you probably answered honestly and factually, because that's what a polite, reasonable man does. And that honest, factual answer is exactly why the conversation ended there. Here's my promise to you today. By the end of this video, you're going to know all 8 of these questions by name. You're going to understand the psychological mechanism behind each one, why her brain generates that specific question instead of just telling you the truth. And you're going to walk away with a way to answer that doesn't just avoid the mistake, but actually turns her testing question into forward momentum. I want to plant 2 things in your mind right now because they matter more than anything else in this video. First, one of these 8 questions is so common, so woven into daily conversation, that you have probably answered it wrong in the last 30 days without even remembering it happened. I'll show you exactly which one, and exactly why it's the most dangerous one to miss. Second, there is one specific type of answer, a pattern, not a script, that works across all 8 questions. And once you see it, you will never unsee it in every conversation you have from this point forward. This isn't about becoming manipulative. It's not about tricks or lines. It's about finally being fluent in a language you've been hearing your entire adult life without ever learning to read it. Every man who seems to just get women isn't smarter than you. He's just not translating her questions literally anymore. He's hearing what's underneath them. So let's get into what's actually happening inside her mind the moment she decides to test you, because the truth is going to surprise you, and it's going to reframe every one of those random conversations you've had over the past year. Most men believe that if a woman is interested, she'll make it obvious. Extra eye contact, laughing at every joke, maybe even initiating the conversation herself. That's the belief. It feels logical. It's also almost completely wrong for a huge number of women, especially the ones who are used to men chasing them, and especially the ones who've been burned before by being too direct. Here's the truth nobody tells you. Obvious interest is a vulnerability, and most women, consciously or not, are running a constant risk calculation around vulnerability. If she tells you plainly that she's interested and you don't feel the same, she absorbs the full weight of rejection, publicly, with nowhere to hide. So instead, her brain does something clever. It disguises the interest as information gathering, a question, something she can walk back with, "I was just curious if the room goes cold." This is where cognitive dissonance comes in, and I promise this is simpler than it sounds. Cognitive dissonance is the discomfort of holding 2 conflicting realities at once. She wants you to know she's interested. She also wants to protect herself from the possibility that you're not interested back. A direct question resolves that dissonance without resolving the risk. It gives her the intel. It gives her plausible deniability. That's the whole design. Let me give you a scenario, because this is where it actually clicks. You're at a friend's barbecue. A woman you've spoken to twice asks, So, are you seeing anyone right now? You answer honestly, no, not really, just been focused on work. She says, oh, that's cool, and the conversation drifts to something else. In your head, that's a dead end. In her head, she just got the single most important piece of data she needed, and you handed it to her for free, with zero curiosity in return, zero follow-up, zero acknowledgement that the question itself meant something. That's the moment most men lose the frame entirely, not because they said the wrong thing, but because they said the only thing, and then let the moment die of natural causes. Now here's the part that connects to attachment theory, and I want you to really sit with this one. Women who lean more anxious in their attachment style tend to ask more indirect emotional check questions. Do you ever get lonely? What are you looking for in life right now? Because they're testing emotional availability before they risk exposure. Women who lean more avoidant tend to ask more logistical, almost transactional questions. What are you doing this weekend? Are you always this busy? Because they're testing your availability and your initiative without ever framing it as romantic. Same underlying goal, completely different question style. And if you only know how to answer one type, you're going to keep missing the other half of women entirely. There's also something called ego protection at play, and this is the one almost nobody talks about. A lot of these questions are preloaded with an escape hatch built right into the sentence structure. Do you have plans later, or are you just going home? Notice the second half of that sentence. That's not filler. That's her building herself an exit in case your answer isn't what she hoped for. The real question isn't the words. The real question is, will you notice the exit hatch and choose not to let her use it? Here's what should be forming in your mind right now. These 8 questions aren't random. They're not coincidence. They're a woman's nervous system trying to get information about you while keeping her own dignity fully intact, no matter what you say back. And the men who succeed with women consistently aren't the ones who get asked these questions more often. Every man gets asked them. The men who succeed are the ones who recognize the question for what it actually is, in real time, while it's still warm in the conversation. So now the real question becomes practical. If you know she's testing you, what do you actually do with that information? Because knowing the theory means nothing if you freeze the exact same way the next time it happens. Let's turn this into something you can actually use the next time it happens, because it's going to happen again, probably sooner than you think. Step 1. Name the category before you answer. The instant she asks something that feels slightly off topic, about your relationship status, your weekend, your loneliness, your type, pause internally for half a second and ask yourself, is this a logistics question or an emotional availability question? That half second matters because it changes your entire response. The psychology here is simple. She's not asking you to report facts. She's asking you to reveal something about how you engage with her specifically. If you answer a Category 1 question with pure information, yeah, I'm free Saturday, and nothing else, you've treated an emotional probe like a customer service inquiry. The most common mistake men make here is answering with total honesty and zero personality because they think honesty is the whole job. It's only half the job. Step 2. Answer the question, then hand something back. This is the pattern I promised you earlier, the one that works across all 8 questions. You answer honestly, briefly, and then you immediately redirect a piece of curiosity back toward her. If she asks, "Are you seeing anyone?" you say, "Not right now." "Why?" you asking for a reason, with a smile in your voice. That single follow-up does something enormous psychologically. It refuses to let her question sit there alone and unacknowledged. It signals that you noticed the subtext without forcing her to admit to it, which protects her ego exactly the way she needed protected in the first place. Except now, you're the one controlling the temperature of the conversation instead of just supplying data to it. The most common mistake here is either going too far the other way, turning it into an obvious flirt line that spikes her guard back up, or going too flat and letting the silence do nothing but confirm you didn't catch it. Step 3. Treat every question as an invitation, not an interrogation. Here's why this matters psychologically. Women rarely ask questions they don't already partly know the answer to, or don't already care about the answer to. If she asks what you do on weekends, she is not building a spreadsheet of your hobbies. She is trying to find out if there's a version of your life she could exist inside of. Answer accordingly. Don't just list activities. Invite. Mostly just gym and seeing friends, though I've been meaning to check out that new place everyone's talking about. You've left a door open without begging her to walk through it. The common mistake is over-explaining, turning a simple answer into a monologue that buries the invitation under too much detail. Keep it lean, leave room. Step 4. Don't resolve her ambiguity for her. When a woman asks something with a built-in exit hatch, are you doing something later or just going home? Resist the urge to immediately clarify and remove all ambiguity for her comfort. That instinct comes from a good place, but it kills the tension that's doing the actual work in the conversation. Instead, hold a little bit of the ambiguity yourself. Depends who's asking. This isn't a trick, it's matching her energy instead of collapsing beneath it. The psychology here connects directly back to that ego protection mechanism we talked about. She built herself an exit because she needs to feel safe. If you slam that exit shut immediately with overeager clarity, you can actually spike her guard rather than lower it. Let a little mystery breathe on both sides. Step 5. Follow up later. This is where most men disappear completely. The final and most overlooked step. Reference the question again later, even briefly, even days after. If she asked what you do for fun and you mentioned a hobby, bring it up again the next time you talk. So, I finally checked out that place I mentioned. This does something almost no other action can replicate. It proves you were actually listening, not just performing a polite response and moving on. Most men treat these conversations as isolated events. Women, especially the ones testing interest, are tracking continuity. Are you the kind of man who remembers, or the kind who forgets the second the topic changes? The single biggest mistake in this entire video is treating each conversation like it starts from zero. It doesn't. She's been quietly building a file on you the entire time. You are not being manipulative by doing any of this. You're not tricking anyone into anything. You're simply becoming fluent in a language that's been spoken to you your whole life, and finally answering back in the same dialect instead of a foreign one. I know some of you watching this are replaying conversations from months ago right now, cringing at every flat, factual answer you gave to a question that meant something more. Stop doing that to yourself. You didn't fail because you're incapable. You failed because nobody handed you the translation key until this exact moment. Here's the real talk, though. The part that has nothing to do with clever responses. Learning to hear the subtext underneath a woman's words is not a party trick you deploy to win a single conversation. It's a form of attention. It's the same attention that, years from now, will make you the kind of partner who notices when something's wrong before she says a word, who remembers the small thing she mentioned once in passing, who makes people feel seen instead of simply spoken to. What you're building right now, in ordinary conversations at barbecues and coffee shops and group chats, is the exact same muscle that makes a long relationship feel safe instead of lonely. I know the impatience that comes with this. I know what it's like lying awake at 3 a.m, replaying a conversation, wondering if you read it right, wondering if you should have said more, wondering if the moment already passed you by and you're too far behind to fix it. That anxious replay loop feels productive. It isn't. It's just your mind trying to control something it can't fully control by rehearsing it into exhaustion. Here's the reframe I want you to actually keep. Silence and restraint are not weakness. The man who doesn't chase every ambiguous question with anxious over-explaining, who doesn't need to resolve every ounce of uncertainty in the next 10 seconds, is not passive. He's regulated, and regulation is magnetic in a way that eager, nervous energy never will be. A woman can feel the difference between a man who needs her interest to feel okay and a man who's simply glad it's there. One of those men gets tested again and again because he keeps failing the test in the exact same anxious way. The other gets trusted because trust is built on the evidence of a steady nervous system, not on clever comebacks. So the next time she asks you something that sounds like nothing, what you're doing this weekend, whether you're seeing anyone, what you're looking for, don't panic and don't perform. Just notice it. Let yourself feel the small satisfaction of finally understanding the language instead of guessing at it. That quiet competence, more than any single perfect line, is what actually changes how these moments go from here forward. You didn't need to become someone else to get here. You just needed someone to hand you the key. If this helped you see even one conversation from your past differently, hit subscribe, because I've got a lot more of these translations coming, the ones nobody else is willing to say out loud. And drop a comment right now telling me which one of these 8 questions you've heard before, because I guarantee you're not the only one in these comments who's heard it and missed it.